I'm gonna bring my boys up in a second, man. Let me just say this last piece to sum it all up. Y'all hate marriage. Y'all hate on marriage because you're afraid of it. You're afraid you're gonna fail. But you can't win the game if you don't play. I'm always going for the gusto. I want to win the game. Play the game. Play to win. Period. Those are your instructions. Whew. Good morning to you.
Hey there.
Hey, great day, family. What's going on, y'all? What's good, Trigger?
What's going on? What's going on? Israel, Real Bravado Network. First time on here. How you doing, sir?
Hey there, Trigger Mike. How you doing? Good to meet you. Good to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
I mean, what a hell of a topic, dude.
Hey, please tell me what you think about it. What you got on the topic, bro?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure if I completely agree that people are just, like hating on marriage. I think more than likely it's because we're no longer seeing marriage in successful. We have incentivized our ladies not to get married. We our guys have abdicated the responsibility of taking control and ownership of their relationships. I was married, and I failed at my marriage. I tell people that all the time, especially those that know what happened in my marriage and the fact that my woman walked out on me. I still consider myself the person who failed because I could not figure out two things: either one, how to lead her in a way to keep her there, or two, cut her loose before that it got to that point. So both of those scenarios marked my failure. So I don't even blame her for the bad behavior, the disrespect, you know what I mean? The constantly challenging my authority, all of that. I didn't figure it out because I had no understanding of what I was supposed to be as a man. And if you are Generation X or Generation Y, a lot of us now rolling into our 40s or mid 40s, we're just now starting to come to understand that we have we are very deficient in the manhood category. We're just now coming to this at this stage of life. And our ladies are looking at marriage because they've never been in a situation where they've been under the guidance of a thoroughbred man. So they just are out here reckless with who they engage with, who they have children with. They're reckless in their thought process because they've never had to be guided by a thoroughbred man, because the last 50 years there's been no men in the home, And I just real quick, I reject the notion when our women talk about, well, they had to be the head because they didn't have a choice. You absolutely had a choice. When the system came to the white farmer families and stuff like that, especially after World War I, World War II, and telling them the same thing that they were telling us about, oh, we'll give you this handout, but your man can't be there. They said, over my dead body, I'm gonna throw my man out. And by the way, we'll vote you out for even suggesting that. We didn't do that. They were willing to die alongside of their men if that meant that man couldn't be in that house. Well, we'll figure it out. We never made that transition. And too many of our men didn't tell their women at that time, I'll be damned if we split up this family. So we as a group just we collapse under real pressure, Trigger Mike. We absolutely collapse under pressure. And I give more edge of responsibility to the men, because you're supposed to be the ones we are supposed to be the ones that's supposed to hold this together. So that's kind of where I feel about this. And for those who absolutely, sit there and say marriage is trash, either they don't have the option, too many rejections, or they haven't made themselves fit for the marriage. Because there's nothing trash about marriage. It's every other culture, values marriage. They have larger success because of the marriage union. They're not walking around. White people, they're the next largest. White women are the next largest group of single mothers, and they're only at a 30% rate of single motherhood. That means 60% or 70% of their women are married in the homes with their husbands, even when the stuff goes bad. They're there.
Can I get in here too?
Go ahead.
Absolutely,
I'm
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the perspective. I agree with portions of both what you said, Trigger Mike, and what the brother said. I would like to offer this, and maybe it sounded like maybe you addressed it, but I was in the transition of trying to get on the panel and I didn't quite hear it. Well, let me say this. First of all, absolutely, as a man, as a man, you have to take responsibility for whatever you're going through. You have to take responsibility for whatever's happening in your life. I agree with that point completely. So regardless to how the relationship ends up or how your life ends up, in order for it to change or in order for it to get better, you have to take the responsibility for it, right? What I will say is this, and this is the question that I had, Trigger Mike, that, and it sounded like I said at the end that you might have addressed this, but in the cases where it is the woman, right, who doesn't get in line, as the brother was saying, and who is the one who is not following and is the one who is offering this and offering that as far as pushback. And let's reverse Ali's. We all pretty much familiar with Ali's situation where he says that the woman changed up, but it was more of a change up thing to try to basically trap him off, right? Or get him trapped. Let's reverse that and let's say that the woman made all of these promises, and then once the child came, that's really all she wanted was the child. And then she didn't get married, or y'all, she didn't want to be married, or whatever the case may be. Like, how, I mean, it's like we talk a lot of times like, yo, we just automatically we can make a woman get married. And a lot of times in modern society, there are a lot of women that look at the chat. They're not even thinking about marriage. You know what I'm saying? They don't want it. They're not thinking about it.
Yeah. So there's actually a simple answer to this, man. And I think I did address it. Or maybe I tried to address it. Marriage is not from your heart, bro. For men, it's about duty.
Duty and
It's
responsibility.
the woman you get with is supposed to be the most cerebral decision you ever make. The woman you marry. Too many of us as men, especially as younger men, are very romantic like the women are. Most of it is because you came from a single mother-led home. Most of it is because we're just from a Disney generation that told us, well, that's the way men are supposed to feel. Explore your feelings about it.
Well, Trigger Mike, let me bring it in a little bit because it's kind of going way off the point that I'm saying. What I'm saying is, let's just say that you were engaged, right? And you were thinking that this is the woman that you're going to marry, right? And you all committed to get married. She has a ring on her finger. You're engaged, and of course, y'all are adults, so you're doing adult things. And then she gets pregnant, whatever the case may be, right? And then after the baby comes, she no longer wants to be married. So it's not like a situation where you can force. Hold on.
Go ahead.
It's not like a situation, number one, where you could force a woman. And it's a lot of times it seems like we talk in terms of, oh yeah, well, if you have a woman, yeah, you got to marry. You have a kid, let's just get married. Like, it's not. I mean, life is more nuanced than that. It's not that simplistic, if that makes sense.
So you're right, and let me just say this. So there's two things here. You could be right, or the situation could be that the woman just switched up, but that's not likely, is it? It's not really likely. She had warning signs, and he was too romantic. And what I was gonna say, what I was leading up to is, we're at a war for families. In war, there are going to be casualties. There are going to be men that experience these situations. The issue is that there are a lot of women that are literally excluding themselves from being picked. They should be completely out of the running, especially as men who like to put their hero cape on. We can't save everybody. If we are so worried about a woman doing that to us, you should only marry a girl from a good home then.
And then here's the other thing, Trigger Mike. Our women operate like that with us. They operate in fear, or they operate based on what some other woman has told them or what they've seen in their small little circle. We as men can't operate in fear. There's no such thing as not having risk in every part. Trigger Mike, you're married, got a beautiful family. There's still risk there, but all the thing you can do as a man is mitigate your risk. The risk is not going to go away, and the same thing goes for our women. The risk are there, and if you don't want to operate and understand, are you uncomfortable with risk, then you got to come completely out of the game. And then with your women, and one of the things I'm learning is, as men, we got to stop listening to what the women say, because they can make things sound good. Women know how to talk to us. Watch what they do. Oftentimes, you'll see a lot of times women say certain things to us in a way that is pleasing to our ear, but will operate and do things completely opposite of what they tell us. Look at your woman choose your woman with your eyes closed.
Well, can I say this? Can I ask you this though? This is two things. So first, I want to say that I think that we have to acknowledge and we have to understand that a lot of times, in my experience, the women who have their fathers in the homes and the fathers are good fathers, they raise their daughters to be independent. They raise their daughters to not need a man, or to not have to rely or depend on a man, or to submit to a man. We have to acknowledge that, especially as the brother was saying, if they're in Gen X and Gen Y. So you have to understand that just because they was raised in a good home, like I said, I think I've stated this earlier before. In my experience, one of them is my son's mother, but her parents been married for almost 50 years. You know what I'm saying? But she definitely has apprehension, and she has had apprehension since the day I met her, since forever, about being married. She never really wanted to be married. So all I'm saying to you is, I know women, and then I know another woman who absolutely wants to be married, and her mother and father has been together for 60 years. At the same time, she's not really marriage material, and she doesn't understand that. So it's a lot of women, right, that are raised in a two-parent household, that are Black women, and that are raised in a good household, and the father has been there, has been working hard, whatever the case may be, but he raises his daughter not to depend, rely, or submit to a man other than himself. Now, that's one point. But the second thing I wanted to ask the brother was this: have you ever come across a woman who was one way before she had a child, and then after she had a child, really turned out to be a different way?
Absolutely. But guess what? As a man, you got to deal with that. You got to make the adjustment.